And there's Justine.
Perfect.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker. I'm the chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission, and I would like to call this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission to order on July 14th, 2026 at 6:06 p.m. Note of that. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoomgov.com/J/1653934 8413, or by calling 646-828-7666 and entering the meeting ID, which is 165393841. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. If there are any media or elected officials present, I would like you please to identify yourself by using the raise your hand function in the Zoom platform, and then you will be unmuted and you can identify yourself and your affiliation. Allison, are you media or are you Allison?
Sarah, we might have to make Allison a co-host.
Oh, no, she's on.
Hi, I am media today. Sorry, thanks.
Thanks, Allison. Happy to have you. Anybody else? I'm not seeing other hands. I'm going to jump right into our next order of business, which is to say I'd like to welcome Vineet Gupta as the newest commissioner on the Boston Landmarks Commission. Vineet is an architect and planner, having served for 30 years as Director of Transportation Planning with the City of Boston. And Vineet, we have a full agenda, but I would love to offer you 30 seconds to say hello if you'd like to, which you don't have to.
No, thank you, and looking forward to participating.
Terrific. And if anything feels sketchy or uncertain, jump in and ask for guidance. We kind of throw you in here. I'd also like to recognize Landmarks Commissioners Kirsten Hoffman and Sue Goganian, who have both been appointed to the Fort Point Channel Landmark District as the Commission's representative. And thank you, Kirsten and Sue, for serving in that capacity. Let's briefly summarize tonight's agenda. We do have quorum, so we can do it in order. We're going to review and ratify the June 30th, 2026 meeting minutes. We then move on to a study report and designation on the New England Conservatory at 290 Huntington Avenue. That's two separate votes. And then we're going to take a series of votes relative to accepting study reports at several Chinatown properties. Staff will help walk us through that process. Then we move on to staff updates and commissioner concerns, and then adjournment. So it's not a complicated agenda, but I think it's probably the most number of votes I've seen in a long time, so we'll have to follow along. The meeting minutes for June 23rd, 2026 were distributed to the commission prior to this meeting, and I open the floor to any commissioners for comments or corrections. I am seeing no hands, so I would love to have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make that motion, Brad. Jeff
Haney. And a second, please.
I'll second. Justine.
Thank you. All commissioners present voting. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
I guess I should abstain as I wasn't present at the meeting.
That's fine. And I think correct. Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I'm sorry, I'm going to back up for a second because I did not fully read in who is here. We have Commissioner Jacques, Commissioner Freeman, Commissioner Orlando, Commissioner Goganian, Commissioner Gupta, Commissioner Haney, myself. We have Jennifer Gaugler, who is an architectural historian on the landmark staff. We have Kathy Kotorides, who's the director of the Office of Historic Preservation. And we have Sarah Lawton, who is a preservation planning assistant. Anybody else that's either a commissioner or a staff member that joined maybe while I was looking down? All right, great. We're going to move on to study reports and designations. And our first is the New England Conservatory in the Fenway. Tonight we will be considering the designation of the New England Conservatory at 290 Huntington Avenue in the Fenway neighborhood as a Boston landmark. The Boston Landmarks Commission is required to hold a public hearing on all proposed landmark designations following the completion of a study report, which describes the significance of the property and the standards and criteria by which future changes can be evaluated. The study report was made available for public review and comment for at least 3 weeks before the hearing as required by law. The purpose of this hearing is to hear the findings of the study report, to hear testimony from interested parties, and to vote on the proposed designation unless the chair decides to extend the vote to a later date so the commission could acquire further information. And I would now ask Landmarks Commission architectural historian Jennifer Gaugler to make a brief presentation summarizing the study report.
Thank you, Brad. On April 26, 2011, the Boston Landmarks Commission accepted a petition to study the designation of the New England Conservatory as a landmark under Chapter 772 of the Acts of 1975 as amended. On June 23, 2026, the Boston Landmarks Commission posted a study report on the proposed landmark, and I will now read a summary from the study report. The New England Conservatory of Music, or NEC building, is historically significant as the permanent home of the New England Conservatory, which has made an international impact in the field of music education and is the oldest independent school of music in the United States. Founded in 1867 by Ibn Torjay, NEC has produced many of music's leading educators, managers, conductors, solo artists, orchestral players, and choral singers, and it has contributed to the formation of music programs across the nation and in other countries. NEC's dedication to the highest quality and rigorous music education has helped propel Boston to the forefront of music teaching, performance, and partnership with other music institutions. The New England Conservatory of Music, as I said, was founded by Ibn Torjay that was in 1867. That was prior to the construction of this building, which was completed in 1901. So the school originally occupied 2 other sites before they procured a parcel on Huntington Avenue. Ibn D. Jordan II donated the land and covered the cost of a new building and its organ. And the NEC hired architect Edmund Wheelwright, who was a principal in the firm Wheelwright and Haven, to design the building. Although he'd never designed a concert hall before, Wheelwright was the principal architect of Horticultural Hall, also a Boston landmark. So NEC moved into their new building in the fall of 1902. And I'm going to point out, as you see here on the top right, the original footprint of the building. You can compare that to the next slide in the lower right, and you can see that a 3-bay addition Brown Hall was constructed in 1928 on the southwest side of the original building. So if you want me to go back, because I like to see before and afters, you can see the original facade was symmetrical, and then there's that extension piece on the right. In 1994 to 1995, Jordan Hall underwent a major restoration led by Ann Beha Architects, now Annam Architects, which won numerous awards, including a Massachusetts Historical Commission Preservation Award, the Victorian Society in America's Preservation Commendation, and the 1996 Boston Preservation Alliance Award. And I should say that Jordan Hall is the name of the performance space inside the conservatory building. So I just want to spend some time going through the criteria because we found that the New England Conservatory meets all 4 criteria for designation as a landmark as established in Chapter 772. So first of all, it is individually listed in the National Register of Historic Places and was also designated an individual National Historic Landmark in 1994. For criteria B, which is about significant events and aspects of cultural and social history, the New England Conservatory Music Building is significant to the cultural history of the city, the Commonwealth, the New England region, and the nation as the permanent home of the New England Conservatory, whose significance I just described. For criteria C, we identified a number of people who are significant, who are associated with the conservatory. I'll just briefly mention them here, but there's more information in the study report. So notable historical figures who graduated from the conservatory and studied in this building include Florence Price, class of 1906, the first African-American woman to be recognized as a symphonic composer and have a composition played by a major American orchestra. We have Cecil Taylor, class of 1951, a groundbreaking pianist and composer known as one of the pioneers of free jazz and one of the most gifted pianists in jazz history. And Coretta Scott King, class of 1954, an activist and leader of the American Civil Rights Movement and wife of Martin Luther King Jr. She was a singer who often incorporated music into her work. And I'll also note an interesting fact that we mentioned in the study report. Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King actually met for the first time on the Huntington Avenue steps of this building at the beginning of a blind date. So I didn't know that until we did the study report. Found that very interesting. A few other important persons we wanted to mention include faculty and leadership at the conservatory. George W. Chadwick was a member of a group called the Boston Six that is considered responsible for the first significant body of concert music by American composers, and he served as director from 1897 to 1930. Gunther Schuller served as president of the conservatory from 1967 to 1977 and established the first degree-granting jazz program at a major classical conservatory. And Rand Blake, internationally known pianist, composer, and faculty member who, working with Gunther Schuller, advanced a fusion music genre called Third Stream. And last but not least, criteria D as well, and that's about the architecture of the building. So we found the building is significant for its mastery of Renaissance Revival architecture and for Jordan Hall's superb acoustic functionality for music performances. And the New England Conservatory really stands among the best examples of the Renaissance Revival style in Boston and contributes significantly to the architectural character of the Fenway neighborhood. Therefore, we recommend that the Commission designate the New England Conservatory as a landmark under 772. The proposed boundary of the designation would correspond to the boundary of the parcel, and the effect of the designation would be that review by the Boston Landmarks Commission and/or Commission staff shall be required for any proposed alterations to the following elements: the exterior envelope of the building and any fixed elements in the space between the building and the sidewalk, including but not limited to stoops, cheek walls, signage, and utility boxes. This would exclude landscaping and vegetation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sorry to throw it right back to you, but do we have written public comment on this?
No, we have not received any written public comments, other than we did have some correspondence with the property owner, the conservatory itself. We did work together and collaborate on clarifying certain elements of the study report. Their archivist was really helpful, and we sort of worked through some of the standards and criteria with them, but we didn't receive any external public comments other than that.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to move on to verbal public testimony, and first ask if any legal counsel representing any participant in the hearing to please identify yourself for the record. You need to raise your hand using the raise your hand function in Zoom, or press *9 if you're on a phone line. I'll give you a minute to do that. I'm going to move on. Please jump in if you're still hunting for that button. We'll watch for it. Testimony is taken in the following order as specified in the Boston Landmarks Commission regulation. First, from elected officials, then from the Boston Planning Department and the Massachusetts Historic Commission, who have statutory review responsibility, then from the property owner, then from those speaking or submitting written testimony at the hearing in support of the designation, then from those speaking or submitting written testimony at the hearing in opposition to designation, then from those who wish to comment not necessarily in support or in opposition to designation, and then finally from anyone with questions or rebuttals on the testimony. If you wish to speak when I call your category, please raise your hand in the Zoom platform using the raise your hand function, or press *9 if you're calling in on a phone line. Please state your name in relationship to the property. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes for the petitioner spokesman and the owner, and 2 minutes for others. Comments should be focused on the validity of the study report and the criteria for designation. We do not take comments about ownership, use, or any future development plans. So again, I'm going to go through those categories one at a time. Raise your hand if you hear your category. Please don't raise your hand if you don't. First is any comments or questions from elected officials. All right, I'm going to keep going. If going by you too fast, you can catch up. Raise your hand when you find the button. From the Boston Planning Department and the Massachusetts Historic Commission. Anyone from the property owner? Anyone speaking tonight in support of this designation? Anyone speaking tonight in opposition to this designation? Anyone who wishes to comment not necessarily in support or in opposition? All right, I think we've gotten through all the categories with no comment. At this time, I would invite commissioners to ask questions or comment on the study report of the proposed designation, or the proposed designation. Commissioners, any questions or concerns about the study report? I see Justine Orlando.
Hey, Jen, I just had one question. I didn't notice in the report before, but when you were giving your presentation, you mentioned that landscaping was not included. The brick sidewalk, is that part of the property line or is that outside of the property line?
I'm going to go back, although we may not be able to see it clearly. Yeah, that's a tiny map. Let me get back to you in a minute and look at the parcel map. Like, let me zoom in on it. I believe the sidewalk is outside of the property line and that the property line ends approximately where you see this metal fence. But let me just look at the parcel map. I'll get back to you in 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Other commissioner comments or questions while Jen's pulling up the actual study report? Yes, Commissioner Gupta.
Yes, this is my first hearing, so if this question doesn't fit into the framework, let me know. But I was curious as to why we did not designate the interior or Jordan Hall specifically as part of this petition. Or is there a different process by which that happens?
No, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. So the interior, so Jordan Hall, that space, which we do have a photo of here, that space was requested to be considered in the original petition as part of the designation. And we decided at the staff level to recommend that that not be included because this kind of a space has such specialized architectural acoustics and it's so scientific. It requires a lot of knowledge of those principles. And like we've had a little bit of pushback from certain institutions saying, you know, we really need to have experts addressing this space who are experts in acoustics. And so we thought, you know, let's landmark the outside of the building and let's take the interior out. And I do believe, I'm trying to remember if this is, it might have an interior preservation restriction, but my computer is not cooperating. I'm sorry to pull up that study report.
Jen, I'll
Continue, Kathy. Yes.
I'll add in here that this is a situation in which there's already a level of protection, not by us, but by the Massachusetts Historical Commission through an easement that they placed when they gave New England Conservatory a grant some number of years ago. And it's a permanent easement or a permanent preservation restriction, which means any changes or any construction to the interior of the hall must be reviewed by them. So we felt confident and also did not want to layer in we felt confident that we had a decent coverage of preservation issues for this important hall, but also felt that the layering on yet another level of review would not necessarily change the level of protection or add any additional value to the restrictions that are already in place.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. It looks like there's adequate protection. I did see that there are some other interiors of theaters that are protected by the Landmarks Commission. So I was just curious.
It's a permissible function of the Landmark Commission. It can be, but it needs to be very prudent given modifications that frequently come to certain buildings. So it needs to be a very special space in order to cross the threshold.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
I just wanted to get back to Justine's question. So the parcel boundary is inside of the sidewalk, so it doesn't include.
Any other commissioners with questions or comments on the study report? All right, I'm going to say that we've now concluded public testimony, and I'm going to ask Jennifer to please review the next step.
Yes, let me get back to my script. Okay. As required by the BLC's regulations, written statements may continue to be submitted for the record up until 3 working days following this hearing to the Boston Landmarks Commission at 26 Court Street, Floor 2, Boston, Massachusetts 02108. Statements may also be sent to blc@boston.gov. An extension of time for submitting written testimony and a postponement of this designation vote may be granted tonight at the chair's discretion, and the public record of this hearing is available upon request to BLC staff. Thank you.
All right, and then just following up on what Jennifer said, I don't think we need to extend the period for testimony tonight. I think that the commission has the information needed to proceed to a vote. Even though the commission will vote on the designation tonight, staff will continue to accept written testimony for the record until this Friday, July 17th at 5 p.m. So we're going to take 2 votes. First is to accept the study report, and I would now entertain a motion to accept the study report for this Boston landmark.
This is John Freeman. I'll make that motion, and I'll also say I thought the study report was exemplary.
Thank you, John. Is there a second, please?
I'll second. It's Sue.
Thank you, Sue. All commissioners voting. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the study report is accepted. And we move on to a second vote, which is to accept the designation of the New England Conservatory as a Boston landmark.
John Freeman again, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Second, please.
Vineet Gupta, I make a second.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes. I
And I
think
vote
you
yes.
skipped me,
I
Brad.
did skip somebody. There you are. John.
Yes.
Yes. Since you made the motion, I apologize.
It's all right.
All right, we're going to move on now to petitions. And this is a little unusual and a little bit complicated, so I'm going
Oh,
to.
sorry, Brad. Do you just
Yes.
want to,
Oh, I got to read in the.
sorry, the whole rest of the
blah, blah,
process?
Sorry, for the record. The commission, having voted to designate the landmark this evening, means that the staff will create a vote of designation document that will present the details about the property, a list of commissioners' votes on the designation, and the date of the vote by the Boston Landmarks Commission. This document will be sent to the city clerk, who advances it through the approximately 45-day mayoral and city council approval process. The mayor shall transmit her approval or disapproval to the city council within 15 days. The city council then has 30 days in which to overturn by a 2/3 vote the designation having been approved by the mayor. Once the designation document is returned to the Boston Landmarks Commission by the city clerk, it is ready for the final step, which is recording with the Register of Deeds. And thank you. That concludes the New England Conservatory matter. And Jennifer, would you give us a sort of overview of what we're going to do next with these Chinatown properties?
Yes. So I am going to explain basically the rest of the agenda items for tonight. So let me go to the next slide. So in February of 2025, 2 petitions were brought to the commission for multi-building landmarks in Chinatown. And these 2 petitions were accepted for further study by the commission. So the first one was 297.25 for 84 to 90 Harrison Ave. These adjacent row houses were built at the same time as part of a cohesive block of identical row houses by one builder. You can see the historic photos on the right. And then the second petition was 298.25 for the Globe Theater block, also in Chinatown. This is a single block, as you see outlined in the kind of red color here, with some common ownership, and some of the buildings are interconnected. But based on our research after accepting this petition, staff understands that the buildings are on separate parcels and they do have distinct historical narratives and architectural significance. And I also want to explain that the Commission's enabling legislation, which is Chapter 772 of the Acts of 1975, stipulates that no districts can be established within the boundaries shown on this slide. So if you are ever curious why there are no districts in downtown Boston, this does not include anything established prior to Chapter 772. So the Back Bay, for example, was established prior to that. So basically, it's the staff's opinion at this time that the 2 petitions that were previously accepted by the commission may be in conflict with the BLC enabling legislation, stipulating that you can't have a district in this area. Therefore, staff are recommending that the commission vote to nullify the 2 petitions that were previously accepted, and then vote whether to accept individual petitions for each separate parcel or building. The intent of this modification is to ensure that we are in compliance with statutory requirements. I want to add also that we'll not be taking verbal testimony tonight, as is our typical practice with petitions. But I will report on any written comments that have been received from the property owners. And if the petitions are accepted for further testimony, there will be opportunity at a later date after the study report has been released for the owner, as well as members of the public, to provide verbal testimony before the commission and to submit additional written comments. I'll stop there. Brad, pass to you.
Thank you. I think that was clear, but I want to just take a minute and ask if any commissioners have any questions about this process. Commissioner Goganian.
Yeah, so does that mean that they're essentially the same petitions and just the addresses have changed on them?
Yes, I would say that you're not, if you had heard these petitions the first time, you're not going to hear a lot of new information, but they have been separated so that each building will be a separate vote. But there's really, at this point, we're not taking information from any further study. We are just looking at the petitions separately instead of together, if that makes sense.
But Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, there are fresh petitions with fresh petitioner names on them.
Yes, correct. The community submitted new petitions. They have separate individual numbers. They all have the required number of signatures. We did verify that with the elections department, that they all satisfied the statutory requirements.
So this process was done in conjunction with the community, the people who had originally submitted those
Yes.
petitions. Okay, that's
Yes,
good. Thank
we
you.
let them know that we felt it was the right thing to do to nullify the original petitions, and told them they could submit new ones, and they did. Yeah.
And we're not leaving anybody, any parcel off that was previously looped in the first group of petitions. Is that correct?
Technically, that's not 100% correct. I will just go back and point. Okay, so if you see this little, it says Ding Ho fast food restaurant with the yellow sign here, that, well, like originally this would be 3 parcels, right? The 2 row houses, and then that little building is on a separate parcel. And in the original petition that was included, just because, you know, it like went to the end of the block, right? But now that the petitions have been submitted for the row house on the left and the row house on the right, the little building, the 1-story building on the far right, is no longer included. That is not being petitioned. So that parcel has been removed.
Okay. Other commissioners have questions on the votes we're about to take? We'll go through them one at a time, but the first 2 votes are to nullify the previous, I'm going to call them sort of grouped petitions. Wait a minute, see if anyone has any questions on the process. All right, the first one is uh, 84 through 90 Harrison Avenue, Chinatown. The staff is recommending that we vote tonight to nullify this petition, and I would entertain a motion to do that.
I'll make
I'll
that
make it.
motion. Sorry.
I heard Sue, and a second.
I'll
John
second, Justine.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. John, you are on it tonight, though, man.
There's Justine. She's got it.
You get ready for the next one. Commissioner Jacques. Did we lose Commissioner Jacques? There you are.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we're going to move on to the next one, which was the Globe Theater block. And again, staff is recommending that we nullify this petition for the reasons that Jennifer has outlined, and I would accept a motion to do that.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry, Brad,
noted.
can I just let you know that Chris Hart has arrived at the meeting, and Sarah, if you can make him a co-host. Thank you.
Chris, nice to see you. Thank you. I am looking for a motion to nullify the Globe Theater block previous study.
All right, I'll do it. John Freeman, so moved.
Thank you, John. And a second, please.
Vineet.
Neat, thank you. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart, you're welcome to vote. If you feel like you didn't hear enough, you can abstain.
Okay.
I vote yes. And now we're going to move on to a series of 6 votes to accept the same parcel sort of one at a time. And I think I have to read it all in every time. I'm sorry.
No, Brad, I wrote out the whole thing the first time, but I'm not going to make you repeat it 6 times.
I love it. All right, I'm going to read this in once. Pay attention, it applies 6 times.
Yes.
Let me make sure I'm in the right place. So the first up is 84 Harrison Avenue. Tonight we'll be considering whether to accept a petition for further study the potential designation of 84 Harrison Avenue in Chinatown. The purpose of a preliminary hearing is to provide petitioners with an opportunity to present to the Boston Landmarks Commission why a property should be considered for designation. If the commission votes to accept the petition for further study, there will be an opportunity for those either supporting or opposing designation to express their views at a later hearing. If the commission votes to accept the petition, written materials and additional documentation on the building will be welcomed by the commission to help the study. If the commission finds cause to reject the petition without further study, it may do so by simple majority vote, provided that its reasons for doing so are stated in the decision and are furnished in writing to the petitioner. And I would now invite Jennifer Gaugler to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study.
Great, thank you, Brad. So the commission has already seen a presentation that includes this property at a previous hearing, but I am going to briefly review the history and significance of the property, both as a reminder for those who've seen it before and also for some commissioners who have not seen it before. So, oops, sorry. 84 Harrison Ave, outlined in the red dashed line, is an early 19th century Greek Revival structure constructed as part of an 11-unit brick row in 1840 to 1841. And you can see the original row on the right. Together with the adjacent building at 86 Harrison Avenue, this pair constitutes the last surviving section of that development. 84 Harrison retains original Greek Revival period features such as the denticular brick cornice and the pedimented wooden dormer. 84 Harrison Avenue embodies the history of single-room occupancy or SRO housing in Chinatown. The building was an active SRO until 2015, at which point a fire destroyed the housing units and displaced 40 residents. Meanwhile, its immediate neighbor at 86 Harrison Avenue shares a similar history, as you'll hear about in a little bit. These two buildings represent the social, historical, and economic legacy of working-class immigrants in Chinatown. In Boston's Chinatown, SROs became especially important as Chinese immigrants began settling in South Cove during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Due in large part to the restrictions of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the majority of these immigrants arrived alone, as single men or as married men unable to bring their families with them. With limited access to mainstream housing markets due to a lack of financial resources and racial discrimination, these Chinese settlers relied heavily on subdivided row houses, boarding rooms, and SRO-style units throughout the neighborhood. SRO housing was strategically placed above laundries, restaurants, and other small businesses, allowing tenants to remain close to employment and cultural support systems, and these living spaces provided one of the few accessible housing options for Chinese immigrants in late 19th century Boston. The earliest evidence of Chinese tenancy at 84 Harrison Avenue is in the 1900 U.S. Census. And I will just conclude by saying that scholars of Asian American studies emphasize that enclaves such as Boston's Chinatown, have long functioned not only as protective spaces but also as centers of political resistance. Historian Michael Liu and political scientist Kim Garan describe ethnic enclaves as critical sites of resistance against racism, redevelopment, and gentrification. Their framework helps situate the Harrison Avenue row houses within a broader history of housing precarity and community agency. So examining the architectural evolution and the continuous overturn of occupancy at 84 Harrison Avenue can reveal how Chinese immigrants navigated unstable and exclusionary living conditions. So BLC staff recommends that the commission vote to accept this petition for further study. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have we received any written comment?
No written comment has been received from the property owner on this petition.
Okay. We now invite commissioners to ask questions or provide comments on this petition. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept this petition.
I'll make that motion, Brad. Justine?
You.
Second.
Second, please. Chris Hart, are you seconding?
Yeah.
Thank you. Uh, Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Make sure we're doing this the right way. Next steps for accepted partitions will be reviewed at the end of the hearing. We've got a bunch of these, so we're going to go on to the next one. Next, we're considering whether to accept a petition for further study for the potential designation of 86 Harrison Avenue, and I would now invite BLC staff to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study.
Yes. So together with the adjacent building at 84 Harrison Avenue, this pair of buildings constitutes the last surviving section of this brick row that was built in 1840 to 1841. 84 Harrison Avenue, which is the one on the left that you just heard about, retains more of the original form of that brick row, whereas 86 Harrison Avenue, which is the subject of this petition, the one on the right, was rebuilt during the period between 1875 and 1883. As you can see, the building was expanded to reach 5 stories with a mansard roof. As the last active single-room occupancy, or SRO, building in Chinatown, 86 Harrison Avenue embodies living history. Populated as a lodging house from the late 19th century on, and specifically by Chinese laborers as early as 1920, 86 Harrison Avenue is still home today to working-class Chinese community members. The mixed-use building has also housed a variety of commercial uses. In 1920, it was notably the Boston location of the Chinese Empire Reform Association, a worldwide political association, founded in 1899 with the goal of turning China into a constitutional monarchy. And in 1930, the building housed the Munlun Library. From 1950 to 1970, it was also the site of business for Simon Katz Tailors, who moved into the building from the adjacent 84 Harrison Avenue. BLC staff recommends that the commission vote to accept this petition for further study. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. And any written comment from the owners of this property?
No written comment has been received from the owner for this property.
And moving on, questions or comments from commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept this petition.
So moved.
Thank you,
Vineet.
Vineet. And a second, please.
I'll second John Freeman.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart,
Yes.
and Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So again, the next steps for accepted petitions are going to be reviewed at the end of the hearing, and we move on to the Shakespearean Inn, which is at 7 through 15 Beach Street. Tonight, we'll be considering whether to accept a petition to further study the potential designation of the Shakespearean Inn at 7 through 15 Beach Street in Chinatown. And I would invite Jennifer Gugler again to present reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study.
Thanks, Brad. Sorry, everyone. It's all me tonight. Okay, so the Shakespearean Inn was erected in 1885 and remodeled in 1897. The fluted pilasters, dentiled cornices, and leafy modillion cornice are elegant Renaissance Revival motifs that give the building architectural distinction. The cast iron bust of William Shakespeare is a character-defining feature of the building and even the neighborhood as a whole, reflecting the growing popularity of the theater district at a time when there were 31 theaters in the area. The Shakespearean Inn housed 45 furnished single or suite rooms in its top 4 floors. excuse me, in 1984, 7 to 15 Beach Street became 15 units of subsidized affordable housing, serving federal Section 8 voucher recipients for decades and providing housing for many working-class Chinese immigrants. The building has become a home and community for many longtime Boston residents and workers like Bradford Nobles, who has lived there for over 40 years, remembers working at the Pagoda Theater when it was operating, and that is the building formerly known as the Globe Theater as well, which you'll hear about shortly. And Bradford Nobles was one of the signers of these petitions, I should note as well. The property also serves as the meeting place for the Taishan Community Association, a civic group created in 2002. BLC staff recommends that the Commission vote to accept this petition for further study.
Thank you, Jennifer. Written comment from the building owner on this one?
Yes, we received a letter this morning from Davis Malm Attorneys in consultation with Epsilon Associates on behalf of the property owner, Chinagate Housing Associates LP. This letter was circulated by email to all commissioners immediately upon receipt. I'm going to summarize the points made in the letter. The property owner is opposed to the further study of the petition on the grounds of lack of architectural integrity and historic significance. The following arguments are included. The original architect is unknown, and the architect and builder of the 1897 remodeling lack regional or national reputation. The building has undergone alterations at the ground floor. Original windows have been replaced, and a one-story addition was added to the top. The building is listed as contributing to a National Register district, but is not individually listed. The building lacks independent historical and social significance, and the petition does not identify any one person of exceptional historical importance associated with the property. The letter also argues that landmarking would be unnecessary and burdensome because the property is on the National Register and contains federally subsidized Section 8 housing, and projects involving federal funding are already subject to review under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. Also, the letter argues that Article 85 of the Boston Zoning Code, which allows for a 90-day demolition delay for properties found to be significant, would provide a meaningful check against unreviewed demolition of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would now open the floor to commissioners for comments or questions about whether or not to accept this study report or accept this petition to create a study.
It takes guts to say that the 90-day demo delay is an actual check.
Thank you, Chris.
Like, but more than that, I don't understand how Epsilon would want to be involved with that letter. It's worrisome.
Other commissioners, comments?
I think that it's important to understand the difference between this and why layering Jordan Hall, especially for new commissioners, why this is different. And I think in this case, not to get into fine details, but that the kind of protection is also different. That this is an important part of the city block. It's an important part of the street facade, and that the windows that may have been replaced, all the important elements of those facades are still there. The replacement of the windows didn't change the configuration of the facade and the elevations, and I think that applies to everything else as well. And amusing as it may be, that this building is the Shakespeare building, has a bust of Shakespeare in the original Globe Theater, does speak a lot to part of the cultural transitions that Boston has gone through.
Any other commissioners? All right, I would entertain a motion to accept this petition for further study.
So moved, John Freeman.
Thank you,
I'll
John.
second.
Sorry, who was the second?
Alicia.
Alicia. Thank you. Voting, Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart. You got it.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Again, we will review the next steps at the end of this block of voting, and we move on. Tonight, we will be considering whether to accept a petition to further study the potential designation of the Brigham Building at 680 through 684 Washington Street in Chinatown. And I would now invite BLC staff to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study.
Thank you. The Brigham Building was designed by prolific Boston city architect Arthur Vinyl. I've never really Vinyl, thank you. Every time I want to say it a different way. Arthur Vinyl, and was completed in 1904 for the estate of Robert Breck Brigham. Vinyl was the third city architect of Boston, and most of his surviving buildings are public facilities, churches, schools, and residences. The Brigham Building is one of only two surviving buildings that once held a theater designed by Arthur Vinyl, and the other will also be presented tonight. The Brigham Building was a grand state-of-the-art retail and office building when it was constructed in 1904. In 1907, the first floor was converted into an ornate 350-seat theater on the first floor named the Theater Premier. By 1920, the theater on the first floor had been converted into a restaurant for the Waldorf Lunch Company, which remained at least until 1945. Around this time, the ceiling was dropped and a second floor was added, subdividing what was once the large theater space. As early as 1925, a Chinese restaurant called Pekin Restaurant was noted in the city's tax records as located in this building, and this later became the Chongqing Restaurant in 1945. So this history of restaurants shows that early on this block is, being incorporated into Boston's Chinatown culturally. Today, the building is home to Vietnamese, Thai, and bubble tea restaurants, and is also home to the Taishan Community Association, a civic group that provides critical resources for people of Taishan Chinese heritage. The Taishan Community Association's David Wong Reading Room is a free place where elders can gather socially or read newspapers, which is especially important in Chinatown where free gathering spaces are difficult to come by. BLC staff recommends that the Commission vote to accept this petition for further study. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And can you tell us, please, if the owner of the building has submitted any written comment?
Yes, the same is true for all three of the remaining items. So we received a letter this morning from Davis Malm attorneys in consultation with Epsilon Associates on behalf of the property owner, and this letter was circulated by email to all commissioners immediately upon receipt. I will summarize the points made in the letter. The property owner is opposed to the further study of the petition on the grounds of lack of architectural integrity and historic significance. They say that the building is not listed on the National Register. The petition references association with Robert Breck Brigham, but he did not conduct any significant activity at the property and was deceased before it was built. Therefore, the petition does not identify any person of exceptional historical importance associated with the property. The letter argues that this is not one of Arthur Vinyl's most significant works, and that Vinyl is generally not regarded as revolutionizing American architecture. The letter argues that the surviving features are competent examples of Renaissance revival design, but they are not rare or exceptional in downtown Boston. There have been modifications to the building, including the alteration of the storefronts, the relocation of the main entrance, the replacement of windows, and the subdivision of the interior. And lastly, the building's various uses over time are not significantly associated with historic events or people that would warrant landmark designation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to commissioners. Questions, comments on this petition?
Do you want a response?
Sure.
I think the architectural integrity of many buildings does not have to be to one particular point in time. that the way a building adapts and grows and changes is one of the most important part of our jobs, to preserve how that happens, to understand the cultural changes in the community. I don't know much about Brigham, but I do know that the building, he doesn't have to have been there. Being associated with it can be associated financially, governmentally, culturally, in many different ways. I would argue that Arthur Vinyl is a significant architect, at least in our local area. He's was, as I said, or as I think Jennifer said earlier, one of the city architects responsible for other buildings which have already been landmarked. And he was also a Boston resident. And I think we have landmarked some of his other projects. And lastly, the storefront, again, it's part of the cultural change. Buildings adapt and change, and we're not mothballing buildings. We are landmarking them with a process, and the eventual petition will allow that change to continue happening. Period.
Thanks very much, John. Anyone else? If there are no further comments, I would entertain a motion to accept this petition for further study.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. And a second, please.
I'll
Second
second,
that.
Brad.
I think I heard Justine Orlando. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Again, next steps for accepted petitions are going to be reviewed once we've gone through all these votes. Two more.
Yep.
But one interesting note that we should put in the record, because they keep pointing to doors and windows being replaced. Well, the simple fact that the building may have become more accessible by removing a step entrance and putting in a not so compliant ramp would also be an alteration, but that does not negate the building's significance. And I think we as a commission just need to put that out to the construction world, that this argument about windows, doors, entrances changing is just not acceptable.
Thank you, Chris. I have a feeling you know that they know that, but it's good to say it. I'm going to move on to the consideration to accept a study report. I'm sorry, to accept for further study the Globe Theater at 686 through 692 Washington Street in Chinatown. And I would now invite the BLC staff to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study. Jennifer.
Yes, thank you. So again, I will present a brief summary of the petition to remind you about this building. So the Globe Theater is a 5-story tan brick building of exceptional architectural value, combining a historic Washington Street facade with a well-detailed interior. The original 3-bay Beaux-Arts facade, designed by city architect Arthur Vinyl, is evidenced in the ornate terracotta ornamentation at the 3rd floor, where 10 windows are separated by Roman Ionic pilasters supporting a modillioned cornice, alternating with cartouches connected by garlands. There is now today an addition comprising 2 stories of blank brick above that terracotta cornice. The interior style is an eclectic combination of classical and Baroque motifs with high relief plaster work. what used to be the auditorium. It's very interesting. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but there's like a floor kind of roughly 2/3 of the way up this center photo now, which is where the restaurant is. So you still see the top of the proscenium arch and these shells and all of this original detail on the ceiling. All this high relief plaster work and things like that. So as I said, this building was designed by Arthur Vinyl, and it's one of only 2 surviving buildings that once held a theater designed by him, and it is the only one that still has original interior architectural details today. So the petition for this building does propose that the commission also study the interior for possible designation of certain interior spaces. The building passed through ownership by key icons in the theater and movie industries while it was the Globe Theater. In 1909, it was acquired by the Schubert family, who are known for establishing the globally renowned Broadway theaters in New York City. And then a few years later by Marcus Lowe of the Lowe's Motion Picture Company, who used the theater for vaudeville and films. And the theater also showed Hong Kong action films when it became the Pagoda Theater in the late 1980s. In 1995, the theater space became the current Empire Garden Restaurant, a local restaurant that has been a Chinatown community staple for 30 years, serving Southern Chinese cuisine that is familiar and popular with the residents and visitors of Chinatown today. So BLC staff recommends that the commission vote to accept this petition for further study. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. And can you talk to us about written comment from the building owner?
Yes, we received a letter this morning from Davis Malm Attorneys in consultation with Epsilon Associates on behalf of the property owner, and this letter was circulated by email to all commissioners immediately upon receipt. I will summarize the points in the letter. The property owner is opposed to the further study of the petition on the grounds of lack of architectural integrity and historic significance, noting that the building is not listed on the National Register. The building inventory form from 1979 identifies the exterior as greatly altered and of only minor significance, and the interior of moderate significance. Furthermore, additional interior alterations have occurred since that inventory form was completed, and they argue that that reduces the architectural integrity of the interior. The letter argues that while this theater commission is unusual for Arthur Vinyl, it was not central to his architectural practice, nor is it among his best preserved works. In 1979, the BLC conducted a theater district survey that listed the Globe Theater at the lowest ranking of 4, aka non-contributing, and states that at that time, no evidence had been located that the theater was host to any stars. And the letter argues that the Empire Garden Restaurant is not unique and does not justify landmark study. And then the letter also argues that it would not be practical or feasible to convert and restore the existing building back to its theater days. So I just want to be clear that landmark designation cannot address the use of a building and would in no way require the property owner to undertake any conversion of that sort. And lastly, the letter also argues that the petitioners are effectively asking the BLC to freeze the building's use. So again, landmark designation cannot address use. And while the proposed interior designation would require certain character-defining architectural features to be preserved, it would not prevent the space from being converted to other uses in the future. Thank you.
Jen, let's open this up to commissioner comments.
I think I've said whatever I've said before applies.
Thank you, John.
Won't take anybody's time.
I'll just add that although it would be nice to think that nobody ever got it wrong on an inventory form, that's not necessarily the case. And so the fact that, you know, I wouldn't use that as the last word. Part of the process here is to make sure that we actually determine what is the history.
Other commissioners? All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the petition for further study for 686 through 692 Washington Street.
Do you want to?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Felicia. Voting, Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Again, we will review next steps on these matters at the conclusion of all these votes, and we move on to our final vote tonight. We are considering whether to accept a petition for further study, the potential designation of the Commonwealth Clothing Building at 4-12 Neelan Street in Chinatown. And I would now invite Jennifer Gaugler to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the building and why it should be considered for further study.
Thanks. Yes, so I will just read a brief summary of the petition once again. The Commonwealth Clothing Building, is a 6-story brick building occupying the corner of Washington and Neeland Streets. On the Washington Street side, metal pilasters divide the wide first and second floor storefronts, while the brick upper floors are distinguished by polychrome banding in sandstone and black brick. Wrought iron balconies also punctuate the transition between the third and fourth floors. The Neeland Street facade, spanning a large 19 bays, follows a similar but somewhat simpler compositional treatment. The building has undergone several storefront alterations over the years, most notably the removal of the original pediment and wall gables as well. The building was originally constructed in 1888 to house the Commonwealth Clothing House, described in an 1889 publication as a, quote, magnificent and mammoth, end quote, store, and admittedly, quote, the finest clothing store in Massachusetts, end quote. In 1907, the Washington Street storefront was converted into the Unique Theater, one of several Nickelodeons that once dotted the downtown area. These early informal movie houses typically screened single-reel films with half-hour programs offered at the popular price of 5 cents. The Unique Theater subsequently operated under the name The Stewart and later the Pussycat Cinema, and by 1979 it stood as the last surviving Nickelodeon in Boston. It no longer functions as such. BLC staff recommends that the Commission vote to accept this petition for further study. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And would you review for us, please, the written comment from the owner of the building?
Yes. We received a letter this morning from Davis Malm Attorneys in consultation with Epsilon Associates on behalf of the property owner, and the letter was circulated by email to all commissioners immediately upon receipt. I will summarize the points made in the letter. The property owner is opposed to the further study of the petition on the grounds of lack of architectural integrity and historic significance. The building is not listed on the National Register. The building inventory form from 1979 identifies the building's exterior significance as moderate, its interior significance as none, its architectural history significance as minor, and its theater history significance as none, finding no known associations with stars, premieres, or important owners. The building has been substantially altered, particularly at the pedestrian level due to the replacement of storefronts and entrances. And the building's historic and cultural uses do not establish any social or historic significance. The presence of the Commonwealth Clothing Company was short-lived, and the other uses, including conversions for theater and restaurant use, are not significant. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would now invite commissioners to ask questions or provide comments.
Jennifer, Jeff Haney here. Has the top floor always been there, or was that a later addition?
I would have to say that we will investigate that in the study report.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, I
enough.
don't know off the top of my head. There's definitely been some alteration.
Yeah.
I don't know the full history of the alterations yet.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I think Jeff kind of makes a good point with Jennifer. The point of a study report is to investigate whether these buildings should become designations, and not approving a study report takes away the possibility of doing that.
Other commissioners? All right, I would entertain a motion to accept this petition for further study.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. Commissioner Goganian.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm going way out.
Sorry, you took me by surprise.
I'm gonna record your vote. And go back to Commissioner Jacques.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Gupta.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yeah.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So I would now invite Jennifer Gaugler, who's staff architectural historian, to review the next steps as long promised in this process.
Yes. So because all of the petitions were accepted for further study, these next steps will apply to all of the petitions tonight. So if the commissioners vote to accept a petition for further study, it is added to the list of properties that require the preparation of a study report. The purpose of the study report is to examine the property's architectural and historical significance as it relates to the criteria for designation. I will say that the amount of time it takes to complete a study report can vary, and in this particular case, we are going to have executive summaries of each study report translated into Chinese so that this information is as accessible as possible to the Chinatown community. So we do need to build in a little bit of time for that into the schedule. We'll also be sharing drafts of the study report with the property owner for their review as well before this comes to the commission, so that we can answer any questions or concerns that they might have. But you will see these coming back sometime in the near future. And then once the study reports are completed, they are presented at a public hearing, and public feedback, including comments from the owner, will be heard by the commission. After the conclusion of the public testimony, then the commission will vote whether or not to designate the property. If the commission does vote to designate, then the proposed designation will require the review and approval of the mayor and city council. And thank you. I think that's it for me tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was a lot of work. Thanks. Let's move on to staff updates. And I think Kathy Kotoridis is going to take us through that tonight.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. The next meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission will be Tuesday, July 28th, with a design review hearing starting at 5 p.m. and a business hearing at 6. At that meeting, the full meeting of the commission will also be reviewing a newly launched program by the Office of Historic Preservation, which is a historic markers program, which was designed and rolled out as part of the city's 250th celebration. So we look forward to both sharing that with you and getting your feedback, but also to determining how to review historic markers on landmarks and other related spaces in the city going forward. Staff welcomes Commissioner Gupta as well, and we also want you to know that there will be another new member, architect and planner David Dixon, who will be joining the commission, but probably not, and has been sworn in and gone through his training, but probably will not be able to join us in any of our hearings until August. But ever so gradually, we're building our commissioner base and really appreciate the willingness to serve. On that note, I also want to congratulate Commissioner Felicia Jacques on her appointment by Mayor Wu to the BPDA Board of Directors. We are delighted that somebody with Felicia's development and preservation experience will be among the voices deliberating on development projects in Boston going forward. So congratulations, Felicia.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, thank you very much. It's not done yet, so it's hard for me to.
It's so awesome, boys. I have no idea how exciting it is to have someone with your caliber there. So I only wish that Ted was there with you. So
Thank you, Chris. There is much to do, and I appreciate the I appreciate the kind words. A lot of work to do, and hopefully having this role allows me to contribute in a way that moves the city forward.
Very well.
Excellent.
Commissioner
Thank
Freeman,
you.
did you have your hand up, or was that just a passing moment?
I'm sorry?
Commissioner Freeman, I thought I saw
Oh.
you had your hand up.
I was trying to applaud.
No, that was an applause. All right. It was a one-handed applause. All right. Thanks, everybody. If there's nothing else, I'm going to see if
That's
we could
it.
have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second, please.
Jeff
I'll
Haney,
second.
seconds.
We got Jeff Haney, and I think, as you all know, that's a voice vote only. So all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.